Right, let's discuss this with Malan, who is with the Bhekisisa Centre for Health Journalism. She's the Executive Director and Editor-in-Chief. Mia, thank you so much for making time. Our country's vaccination drive suffered a major setback in April after the U.S. Federal Drug Administration halted the production of J&J vaccines at a plant in Baltimore after it was found to be contaminated. How important is this latest development in our vaccination drive?
Well, Clement, this latest development essentially means that we are receiving doses from J&J again, which is very important for our country because, as you may know, it only requires one dose. And in the most of the rural areas of South Africa, the health department originally planned to use J&J doses and not Pfizer doses. And when we didn't get our J&J doses, we had to convert sites, which meant that in rural provinces such as the Northern Cape, for instance, we didn't do that many vaccinations because some sites now had to be converted. And the reason why we wanted to use J&J in a place like the Northern Cape is because they are long distances to travel. So to get people back for their second shot to a vaccination site is much more difficult than doing it in a city. So it's great news that we're getting just under 1.5 million doses of J&J that we will be able to use from next week. It's getting released today to J&J, and J&J will then tomorrow fly the doses to OR Tambo Airport in Johannesburg, and it will then be taken to a warehouse in Midrand, and those doses will then be quarantined there while samples are being tested at our National Control Lab in Bloemfontein. And once that has been cleared, the doses will be transported to different vaccination sites.
Do we know how many doses?
Yes, it's just under 1.5 million, 1.49 million. And we also have a delivery date for the next batch, which is August 2nd. And then we will get 600,000 doses, which of course is still very few, a very small proportion of the 31 million doses that we've bought. By the end of August 2nd, we would only have received 3.6 million of our J&J doses, but small steps.
Yeah, and this will be the first set of vaccines to be manufactured in the country from the active pharmaceutical ingredients, the so-called API substances, right, through that, fill and finish process.
Yes, so we don't manufacture any COVID vaccine in the country from scratch. We've got two companies, Aspen and BioVac will soon become also a company that does fill and finish for the Pfizer vaccine. But for J&J, Aspen imports the active ingredient, and that's just a smart word for the ingredient that makes the vaccine work. They import it from Europe for this batch, and then they mix it on this side with something called a buffer solution, which is essentially an inactive substance, and then they also put it in vials and they package it. Now, that might sound like a very simple process, but it's not nearly as simple as it sounds. They did need to receive technology transfer in order to be able to do this. So it's quite significant that it's the first African company in the entire Africa that actually is manufacturing only the last stage of the vaccine, but that is contributing to producing vaccines for Africa. And although this batch that's being released today will all go to South Africa, there's 17 million doses that Aspen will fill and finish that will also go, part of that, to the African Union, and that will all happen over the next 3 months.
Yeah, this will be a significant given just how low the rate of vaccination is on the continent. Mia, just remind our viewers of the efficacy of the J&J vaccine against especially the Delta variant, because that's what's been driving, right, the infections. I've been hearing some people compare J&J and Pfizer and expressing which they prefer, but both are effective against Delta.
Both are effective against Delta, and when we say effective, what we're really referring to, what it's the best at doing, is at protecting you from falling severely ill with COVID. So it protects you from ending up in hospital or dying from the disease. So essentially what both these vaccines do is, yes, you can still get infected with the Delta variant and any variant really of the SARS-CoV-2 virus if you've been vaccinated, but it changes what happens after you've been vaccinated. So it changes changes those people with comorbidities or older people who are likely to end up on a ventilator or in ICU. Their chances are now dramatically reduced when they take these vaccines. And the Delta variant, when it comes to the J&J and the Pfizer vaccine, with the Pfizer vaccine, data from England shows us that even after only one dose of that vaccine, you have 94% protection against hospitalization and death. And in the case of the J&J vaccine, the protection is also more than 80% against severe illness.
So over 10% of the population now vaccinated. Government said, it's increasing the number of vaccination sites, the capacity on weekends as well. What's your sense, Mia? When are we likely to reach population immunity? Should government continue on the track of vaccinating over 200 people per day?
So, Clement, actually 10% of the population hasn't been vaccinated. It's about 6% of adults, so people of 18 and older, that have been vaccinated so far. But we are definitely picking up speed. So the goal of the health department is for us to do 1 million vaccinations every 3 to 3.5 days, and to also, as you know, on the 1st of September, open it up basically for everyone who's eligible for a vaccination. So everyone of 18 and older, people below that age can't get vaccinated against COVID at the moment in South Africa. That is picking up, and I think if we continue at this speed, the health department says that by Christmas we would have done 35 million doses, and we've got 40 million people of 18 and older in South Africa. Now, if we've done 35 million doses by then, it doesn't necessarily mean it would be 35 million people fully vaccinated. It means some of them would have only received 1 dose of Pfizer by then, but we would be very much closer to that goal of 40 million people.
Yeah, and just to confirm, Mia, you're saying it's less than 10% of the population now that's been vaccinated?
Yes, it's actually to be, by the end of yesterday, it was 5.8%, and not of the entire population of adults in South Africa, so of people of 18 and older.